Alright, hello everybody, welcome to the PBX Pro Series number 6. Today it is me for the very first time joining the PBX broadcast, and I will be joined by Piercing. Hi, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. I think it's been a while since we've actually worked together on anything, so it's good to have you back on a production. Good to see you again. And honestly, I'm just excited to see what we're gonna have next on the table for this upcoming BO3 and BO1. Yesterday's was quite something to behold, to say the very least. So I'm definitely looking forward to what will be the next cascading chain of events in this BO3.
Yeah, alright, so for this very first BO3 that we got coming up, it's going to be Divinium Esports Academy against, of course, the one and only PBX. So we've got the namesake of this series going up against Divinium Acad here in the essentially lower bracket of the group. So this is an elimination game, that's why we are in the BO3 format. Whoever wins this gets to move on and play against the loser of E-Wave and Myth Academy. We can see it on our screens right now. And so everything's on the line here. If you lose this game, you go home, you get nothing. You don't get a chance to continue competing for those potential 400 euros. And I mean, that's a decent chunk of change.
Oh yeah, 100%. And let's actually talk a little bit about these teams in these brackets, shall we? I know about E-Wave-Esports and I know about PBX. Both of these teams have been in for a while. I don't unfortunately have a lot of information about Divinium. This is my first time actually hearing about them. But PBX, they've been in this game for quite a while. And so has E-Wave. So kind of looking at it from what I know so far, PBX last season, if I recall correctly, had a bit of an issue when it came to like leadership and coordination. And I do wonder if they were kind of able to break out those kinks. I mean, they've gotten this far, so I'd assume they've made some considerable progress on it. But I do recall that being as kind of a choke point. E-Wave had a similar struggle as well with coordination. So that's something to keep an eye on, is going to be their mid-round decision making, as I think that will be their biggest struggle point if it continues to be a problem. But let's talk about these rosters and the players that we're going to be seeing for tonight. On the side of Divinium Esports, we've got Cam Fries, Noji, Malat, JD, Fatnik, and then for PBX, we've got Bialga, Edo, Francison, Franco, and Aurelian. That's going to be our players that we will be seeing for tonight, of course, unless we have any subs coming in. But let's take a look at those map bans. Let's see what we've got going on as far as what we'll be seeing and playing tonight.
Alright, once again, it is a BO3 format, so I think what we've got coming up, I don't know if this is correct. I do have it pulled up on another screen. Well, the last map is certainly right. The decider will be Clubhouse, but before we get to that, we have to, of course, play 2 other maps. So I'm hoping that we get to see the correct proper first and second map in just a second here, and there we go. We've got Nighthaven picked by Divinium Academy, and Skyscraper is coming out by Project BlackX. So, I mean, I like to see Nighthaven. It's one of the newer maps. Lair was one of the late bans for the side of PBX. They don't want to let that one slip through quite yet, which did leave Nighthaven open for Divinium to try and pick, so that's where we're going first. After that, we will be going over to Skyscraper, and if we need it, we go to the old classic, we go to Clubhouse, the most established map, aside from the now missing Oregon inside of the map pool. So,
for that.
Yeah.
I don't miss Oregon at all. But yeah, I mean, as far as the map goes, these are actually 2 maps for primary picks that are almost a 1-for-1, except where Nighthaven was a deciding pick for our last BO3 yesterday. Skyscraper was actually one of the main picks, and I do gotta say, I really appreciate seeing this kind of diversity in map picks, because if you went back to casting during the utility meta days or shortly after the LMG meta, oh, that would not have happened. Oh, absolutely not. You would not have seen Skyscraper. You would not have seen like some kind of new hotspot map like Nighthaven, especially if it was recently reworked or anything like that. That was not going to happen. But I do find the twist interesting that instead of having, you know, Clubhouse being one of the main picks, that's the decider. That's kind of dicey business if you ask me. If both teams win their pick or lose their pick, going on a map that 50-50, I'm going to be honest, I don't think I would be too comfortable with that. I would probably prefer 2 standards and then a toss-up and hope that I'm better prepared rather than, having a map as volatile and as tight as Clubhouse. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but that wouldn't sit right with me if I was the IGL picking the maps.
Well, I mean, going to an established map last just means that both of you are going to be, already warmed up into the matchup. You're going to have a good read on your opponent, so it comes down to who plays the better fundamentals. But I definitely agree with you that it's a risky pick, and I think it kind of just gives an indication to the fact that maybe both of these teams didn't give too much thought to what they want the third map to be. Maybe this is just a matchup where they're considering, well, both of these teams potentially want to win 2-0 and they want to avoid Clubhouse altogether. Of course, they're clashing in the idea that, they don't want the other one to win 2-0, so it's each of the teams wanting to close it out immediately. But considering the map picks, I feel like Nighthaven and Sky, you did point out during the util meta, those are 2 maps you would want to avoid, and that goes to show that they are somewhat similar. There is some similarities between the 2 maps. There's a lot of power play spots, there is a lot of balconies and a lot of rafters to try and play around, and given that circumstance, I feel like that's just a set of maps that both teams kind of favor, and that makes me think that either team just want to get a decisive victory here.
Well, I think that's definitely the gambit that we're witnessing here. You don't really have a decider that's a 50-50 like Club, Oregon, or Chalet, the Classic 3, unless you're pretty dang confident that you're going to flush this one out. That's not too standard to have something like that, because at that point, you start getting worn down, you start getting clumsy, and that's when the volatility becomes dangerous. And a more experienced team is obviously going to be the one that takes that. I mean, barring all else, everything starts to equalize as you move further on and you have these kind of standard rotation maps, because you're going to start making more mistakes. That's naturally going to happen. But if you're more seasoned, you're going to be more resistant to those small mistakes that can cost you an entire round on those types of maps. So that's really what I would call a seniority biased map. Whoever has more experience overall and has more resistance to fatigue would be the one to take that. I really can't say there's all that much more going on there.
Yeah, right. Of course, we also have a Clash of Nations, so PBX is fielding an all-Italian team, and we've got Divinium rocking an all-UK team. There's a lot of UK players that I've seen around. Rarely do I see them on an all-UK team. I feel like that's the most irregular thing to see coming out of just EU in general. Usually you see the UK try and tour around with players of all different nationalities, so the fact that they found themselves together like that is already an interesting marker. And the question of synergy comes in here, because of course I'm expecting that PBX is not going to be calming in English. They're most likely going to be talking in Italian to one another. That's once again just my assumption, but I feel like that would be the case. So there may be just a distinct difference in playstyles, because you can tell that communicating in a different language completely changes the way that you give information and the way that you play Siege.
Oh, 100%. That does absolutely streamline the process significantly. Because that's something I've always kind of wondered, is if you've got a mix of teams from different countries and they're speaking different languages, how is that going to work as far as communication goes? Of course, I wouldn't know. I'm obviously North American. We speak pretty much one language, and that's American, and more Americans. So, yeah, I'm not really sure how that all works out, but I know a lot of the mainstream language is English regardless. But I do kind of wonder if that deviation from fluid speaking English does kind of pose some additional challenges as far as communication, because we have definitely seen some gaps in this league and other EU leagues where it seems like something just wasn't communicated, even though a drone spots it or a pick comes out against the favor, right? Having someone to be able to communicate that and follow up, and sometimes that just doesn't happen. So I do believe there is some genuine logistical challenge that comes out of that. But it does look like we are actually getting close to ready, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, all right. With that, I think we should be good to launch into map 1. So got a very quick ad to take it away, and then we'll be right back with, hopefully, the operator bands.
For sponsoring the PBX Pro Series 6. IT Discount 24 is your refurbished IT partner. Head on over to their website or eBay shop posted in the chat to find all your refurbished PC needs. Whether corporate or private, they'll have you covered.
Alright, there we go. We're running into map 1. We've got Nighthaven Labs coming up between the two teams, Divinium and PBX. We're gonna head into the operator bans very, very shortly. And I'll throw a quick question at you, Piercing. What do you think, what mom site do we think is gonna come out first?
That's going to be dependent on the bans. If the bans are electricity breach denial heavy, I think we're going to see probably second floor. If they're more shield heavy, I think we're going to see something like basement. It depends. Well, actually, I think I got it backwards. It depends really what the bans are going, but I'm going to say most likely second floor due to more comfortability and experience. Basement can be a bit more tough because of how spread out it is and the sheer number of navigation options approximate to site, especially if you're not the team to bring operators like Fenrir or Malusi. But starting out, we do see the Maverick ban. I definitely was not expecting that coming out from Project Black X, but that does help a lot when it comes to preventing those walls from getting open. So right now, just looking towards second floor. And then, of course, there's the Monty ban. Can you blame anyone? Or can you really say you're surprised? I won't.
No, I mean, it's still the current meta. We've, of course, got something in the patch notes cooking up very, very soon, but for now, the shields stay the same. The melee priority is simply a lot. You take so much space and you get so much control of the map for free with the shield operators. So on a map like this, you take out the Monty. That still leaves the Blitz open. That still leaves the potential for a fuse shield, but at the very least, the extended shield of the Monty that can take all of this space for free and who doesn't have to concern himself with potentially getting shot in the feet, he gets himself taken out. The Maverick ban is interesting. I thought it would facilitate something like an electricity ban or a Tubarão, but no, we've got a Mira and a Warden coming out. With Ying open, having the Warden banned out, this is going to be a spicy Nighthaven.
Oh yeah, that's horrifying. I know that a lot of these teams, if they got the option to pull Ying, they're gonna do it. Especially as a Ying man, I understand how important it is to keep that Ying alive to the mid round to be able to dissect those power positions. As long as you're getting into the nook and cranny of those spots, you've got nowhere to go. And as long as you're not ticketing your own life by walking into a crossfire, that's an easy pick for you. And it allows for huge space with minimal risk. Hence why she's banned so much. And the fact that Warden's gone, Ying's not gone. I mean, you've got Blitz on the table as well. I mean, holy crap. You've got a lot of options for an onslaught for breaking onto site. I'd say this actually shifts things quite a bit in the favor of the attack. At least assuming you can get the walls and everything else you need breach set up. Because keep in mind, Maverick's off the table as well. And Tubarão and all these other ops kind of make breaching a bit more difficult, or at least far more complicated than the OG days.
Yeah, it should certainly favor them, but at the moment I feel like the lineup coming out of Divinium is a bit of a mixed bag. We've got the Dokkaebi, but in the current meta, and anybody that follows Fresh on Twitter at all will know that the current meta seems to favor combination of operators, and especially on the attack, if you can combo the correct sorts of operators, you can get some massive value out of it, and at the moment those combos are the Lion together with something like a Deimos, which I'm not seeing here, the Dokkaebi, which you would usually combine with a Deimos, so I'm really missing that operator at the moment. And for the Blitz, you would usually like to bring out a Finka on the entry ops because of that faster ADS speed and because of that faster reload speed, but instead we've got just a Blitz all by himself pushing down into Nano, and he's just gonna get all of this control for free. This is not at all contested by PBX. I think they're out on a roam and they're not expecting this, and now the first point of contact has been made. JD gets the first kill, one kill gets traded back. This Blitz takes a lot of damage, but the plant is coming down. Noobski is going for the plant, and he's more than halfway done, but no, there's an angle up above. Frankie-san is able to get that kill, and now suddenly it's a collapse by PBX, and they're able to take this back. Divinium tried to make a fast play, and PBX punished them as soon as they get back to site.
What a great play come out from PBX, a strong retake, and that's exactly how you need to handle that situation. You cannot hold your ground against someone who's making that kind of space, especially when you don't quite have the utility to support it. Sure, you had a Legion on the board, but that you're only going to be able to cover so much avenues, and that's kind of what makes Basement more frustrating to play against. But because Divinium didn't really do their due diligence on the first floor and full sent it, that vertical came to bite them, and bite it did hard. You cannot let those players go unaccounted for. Having some kind of pressure. I like the walk-in combination with JD. That was great. Really well done. But it still doesn't deal with the fact that you've got a player above that can catch you at every left field. That's where you have to be erring on the side of caution, or maybe even with utility, whether it's smokes, some kind of cover. But that just really wasn't there. It seemed a bit forced, I would say, but otherwise not too bad coming in from Divinium. And the retake from PBX, I mean, couldn't have done it better. But we will be moving on to second floor. This is kind of where we were discussing that Maverick and, you know, that ease of getting those walls opened and those combos. This is the time to see how those play in. You've got the Baloga on Decade. Whoa, hello, Spawn Peak. Franco getting an early pick onto Camfries. That's going to be the Twitch out. That sucks considering the amount of utility you've got out on the board. But you've also got the Francie on the Tuberow as well, which is going to make for a particularly interesting challenge of getting these walls open. Does it go through?
Yeah, and speaking of, that exothermic is not going to go off. It's going to be frozen in place. He's already activated it too, so there's not a chance he can pick it up anymore. He just has to wait for this ice to fade for this Zoto canister to finish its job. And in the meantime, however, the connector walls are also being opened up by those can openers in the pocket of Malot. So he will get that open. That means good work being done by Divinium to open up most of the walls. They're still waiting on trying to open up this IT wall. So just at the moment, Frankie is doing a great job of denying that. And his buddy Franco is out on the other side of the map, trying to go for a bit of a flank, waiting for an opportunity to present itself on the side of meeting. But for now, Divinium is still outside the building. They haven't found a way in yet. And there are some yellow pings onto these roamers as well. The question is, do they try and just clear these players out of their positions, or do they hunt them down and box them in? Because at the moment, I'm seeing some indecisiveness from the attackers that's slowing them down.
Oh yeah, 100%. I do think they're absolutely getting stalled, and I think in large part that comes down to the fact that they're just not able to get that IT wall. But it does seem like they finally got it. Franco getting a very nice swing onto the main stairs to take Malot down. That's going to be yet another pick, and then we're going to see Bioga taking another as well. These counter swings onto these positions they've established, doing quite a bit of damage against Divinium. Like you said, that hesitancy, putting in a lot of damage out, and there's a little bit more damage, but not before Bioga goes out in turn. But putting Noji down to 32 HP. It's now 2 hard breachers versus the whole world of PBX. And so far, they're not showing any signs of stopping. So finding this opening is going to require just a little bit more of decisiveness here and maybe some pressure. But, I mean, you really don't have the means to do that other than 2 smokes. And with 38 seconds to go, this is kind of a tough ask if you ask me. I mean, and look at the drones. You still got 4 drones available. Well, now 2 with the Nitro coming out. Franco catching Noji. This is where those Nitros can be so strong, folks. Smokes do go out. Looking for at least 1. Still holding by the door. Not getting too aggressive here. And there's the re-swing at just the right time for PBX to pick up another round rather cleanly.
All right, I'm seeing a bit of a prone jiggle peak. I saw that at the major earlier as well. I think it might have been in the quarterfinals. I forget. The name slipped my mind. I don't know who was doing that, but it seems to be all the rage at the moment. You just spam your prone key and you just jiggle around a corner and try to get some information because seemingly it's apparently a bit faster than just trying to go for a normal ADS jiggle peak. But of course, the danger with that is you can't fight back. The only thing you can really do is just go and have a gander. You can have a look, but you're not going to be able to shoot back accurately at the very least. If you get lucky, you might hit a shot, but very unreliable. So just doing that for information. Aurelian certainly feeling himself. And with that, it wasn't Aurelian, it was Edo, I think. And with that, PBX go up 2-0. They get themselves a very good start. However, so far, nothing really out of the ordinary. This is just kind of what you expect. How decisive it is of course, a good tip-off for PBX so far, but they have to go to a tertiary site. This is still Nighthaven, and now is Divinium's first chance to really find their way into this map. If they can clear out this first floor bomb site, they're looking at potentially a 4-2 half in favor of PBX, and the moment they get themselves onto their own defense, I think they're going to be fairly happy with that. So far, nothing out of the ordinary, but at the moment, Divinium, they now really need to perform, otherwise this might start slipping away from them already.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is kind of a big breaking point for them, being able to take this second floor site. You do have JD on the RAM as well, and you've even got a little bit of investment, like you mentioned, towards that clear, which I think is going to help them a lot, because this is where they're starting to get hurt quite a bit. You get these rogue swings, these little bits of controlled aggression that start to put the hurt that on them. Already getting vertical very early on, but I don't think they have the full vertical cleared out yet, which I think will be a bit of a problem once they try to put more of a squeeze. This is where Deimos is going to want to come in to try to find these upstairs players. And so far, you've only got 4 drones out in the field right now, 5 still in hand. And I think this is going to tell me that there might be a bit of a intel gap on where these players are on second floor, because we really haven't seen much of an exchange of gunfights at all, which tells me that PBX is right where they want to be, which is not the greatest sign in my opinion. The calm before the storm, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely. We still have yet to see the first engagement come out, and PBX are going to be happy with that because they're fine with this slow movement. You can see a lot of drones stacked up here. A C4 connects with one player and does quite a decent chunk of damage to 2 others as well. Franco finds another. I believe that was from down below through the angles created by the C4. He's able to take down a second. Mulata's taken some damage from that C4 as well, and suddenly everything that Divinium were trying to set up immediately goes up in smoke. There are now 2 players behind. There's smoke babes being popped already by the side of Edo to just continue wasting time and keep this top floor contested for as long as possible. And this is not a good sign for Divinium if they lose this round as well. It's going to be 3 in a row for PBX, and they're going to win a full rotation of bomb sites, which means they can go just straight back to the basement. Swing out from Frankie-san, but it won't connect onto Malot just quite. That does mean that the Sami is able to cross now in a more aggressive posted up position. At the moment, I really see no way for Divinium to get back into this round.
No, this is kind of a really rough situation, especially with that shotgun. Oh, getting it too and able to walk away, but a refrag, but too little too late as Aurelian takes another as well. I kind of saw this in the writing, the way they were all stacked up over by Connector. Not the way to go about it. I mean, again, the calm before the storm. Aurelian taking another onto Noobski, and that means that PBX will have a full rotation on this full half, like you had said before. But this is kind of what I was talking about before when it came to this clear, right? You can't expect things to be, you know, fine when you're going for a vertical clear. You've got to have some kind of preparedness for that. They like to bring the Valkyrie. They played it back. That should, you know, that should start tipping off bells in your head that something's not quite right. But I don't think they really let their intel go deep enough. In fact, I don't even recall seeing Deimos use his ability. I think he might have used it once, but that was about it. When you've got operators like Valkyrie below, and you've got players playing in a more reserved player or position deeper into second floor, that kind of should tell you that you want to go for a kind of hunt. And I just think the utility didn't support the playstyle, and they got burned in turn.
Yeah, absolutely. The first floor clear that was coming out alongside the top floor clear was way too shallow. In the beginning, they were clearing out kitchen alongside meeting, so they were getting vert control on both floors simultaneously. They were creating some openings there. They open up a wall to make sure that whatever floor they're treading on can't be C4'd, whatever floor they're treading on can't be contested whatsoever. But the moment they got themselves into connector, they gave up on that idea. They rotated their buck upstairs. He was no longer trying to get any sort of control downstairs inside of kitchen. And so, of course, they get blown sky high, I believe, around the game side from that Valkyrie, and she's able to just freely contest vert holes now opened up by that. And there's no response from Divinium. And speaking of no response at the moment, Project Black X has been so good on these opening picks, and it's Bio once again to get the opener. And that's onto the Deimos. That's onto the player that's supposed to hunt these players and put them down into the basement again. And so you lose that player early. He has yet to find the board. He's 0-4 at the minute. And these opening fights, in a similar fashion, I think the first one has gone the way of Divinium, and since then it's been all PBX all day. And there's no responses. That's the big problem. Whenever Divinium get a kill, it is immediately responded by PBX. But the other way around, not so much. So Divinium just fighting on the back foot every time.
And I think that speaks big time to a fundamental problem that even goes beyond opening picks. If you look at the way that PBX is moving and responding to what Divinium is putting at the table, there's a genuine lack of real pressure, right? Like, there's always a way out. There's always an escape, and there's always a crossfire, refrag, whatever, a way to kind of, you know, wiggle your way out. There's no real pressure is what I would call it. And I think that's kind of where Divinium is struggling here. They need to find a way to put the squeeze on PBX and put some real pressure on them. And that's kind of what these discussion points that we've talked about are kind of turning into. It's just there's no real pressure. And they're gonna have to set that up eventually. Otherwise, they're really not gonna be able to pick up an attack round. At some point, you've got to force a displacement from these power positions and these unaccounted for roams. Otherwise, you're gonna continue to get these sweeping man count losses, as we've seen already.
Yeah, of course. But as we've been talking about that, there's been a kill in favor of Divinium. Franco has gone down. That is a big roamer cleared out. That Oryx, he's 6-1 as well. So you're getting rid of an important player. And now the health advantage seems to favor Divinium. They've tagged up some of these players, forced them back to site. This is what you want to see. The problem is there's now 30 seconds left, and Divinium have to shape up into an execute. Timer is ticking lower and lower, and the staircases, the breach, it's all being held by PBX. Now the drop comes through into Animus, and a kill comes through as there's a bit of an aggressive swing from Bio, and it won't pan out for him. And Noob is still on this main breach, trying to hold this. However, Aurelian with the trade. And the question is, can they get themselves into a planting position? And at the moment, the answer is absolutely not. These remaining players from Divinium are not even in a position to try and help their remaining players, and they just run out of time, run out of players. PBX able to hold on once again as they just deny the site control, because that's all they realistically need. And after 3 minutes, that's too little map control, and that's too little setup to try and make this work, as at the moment, PBX are running away with their opponent's map pick.
Oh yeah, this is definitely a rough situation. I mean, going extremely well for PBX. I mean, even when they do every once in a while get caught out, like we saw from Breach, they're not letting it phase them. And they're still holding those positions. This sturdiness on their fronts is what's giving them such a good edge. Being able to not over-rotate, not overextend, stand their ground, and still be able to get major impact, even as the execute's going down. That responding to that pressure and the phantom pressure management, perfect coming from PBX. They're not exposing themselves to trying to expose themselves to a presence that doesn't exist and then getting caught off guard into one that is there. It's a level of consistency that is doing PBX so well. And I think this also plays in part to the intel they have available. You've got the sound cue from the Legion mines, you've got Valkyrie cams, and they're just not giving Divinium any grounds without them making the move, right? It's that kind of pace setting that I think PBX has really got down at the moment. But moving on to this round, we are going to be back onto second floor command center. We did see a little bit of a delay in getting this wall open the last time with the Tubarão, and it does look like that'll come through yet again. But what we did see is those walls still got opened regardless, and was still a decent amount of time to spare, especially the connector wall, as we had witnessed. So I do wonder if PBX will be able to slow that down further, or will be much of the same and just focus on holding it down on site, and maybe gets a little bit of aggressive swings like we saw before.
Oh boy, here we go again. You've pointed it out before, the Valkyrie cams seeming to be an issue for Divinium because they just give so much information to PBX. The C4 won't quite connect. Sadly, that black eye doesn't give just enough information, but of course Franco's down below and he's still contesting this. Even after he doesn't connect, he tries to take the fight. He will get away with his life, however, he isn't able to find a punishment yet. The problem is Divinium now have to worry about this. They put a cam down below now, but they haven't cleared out this black eye. They have yet to bring an IQ. They're really not adapting to the way that PBX is playing this very, very aggressive roam game, and they're just allowing their opponents to get all of this information over onto them. As they clear out an F-Naught, now the opening pick does go to Noji, who's able to take down Bio. That's an important pick. You take down the Kai, that's one of the site anchors, and Camfries, he's managed to rotate himself around. The problem is that F-Naught does catch him out, and there's a flank coming through. Franco, for some reason, not able to connect onto that player, and elsewhere, Divinium is absolutely running over PBX. They're able to get into the site, and this might be the first attacking round for them. It took quite a while, but it looks like this may be their opportunity. They've got over a minute left. It's only down to Frankie-san, and he has to try and contest so many of these players. He does have a decent bit of info to play with, but he's getting droned out. They know where he is now. They shouldn't be giving him these 1v1 engagements. He does take one fight, but Noob Sky takes him down, and there we go. Finally, Divinium find themselves a bit of an advantage, a bit of a fight back into this half, and they can still make this a 4-2 split, despite a suboptimal start.
Oh yeah, that was a much better play coming in from Divinium there. But, I mean, let's not ignore the elephant in the room. PBX did kind of overplay their part big time and overheated there. That basement flank, I would say, was way unnecessary, right? Especially when you're running into that player. I don't think that runs agreeable to me. I think it's the same thing, you know, with how they were trying to force so many of these fights that didn't have to happen. I really think that PBX just kind of got over aggressive, where Divinium is looking, you know, for an overreach. And I feel like that was definitely there by a substantial margin, right? And the other thing that I kind of want to see coming out from Divinium going into this next round, which so far I don't think the composition really supports this, is probably some kind of displacement. Whether it's a Ying, or maybe some grenades, or even flashbangs. Something to offset PBX and make a real pressure. Or even if it's just additional info. Having something to pinch these players out, get a real feel for where they are, and prevent them from having a chance, you know, to get some damage in unaccounted for.
Franco, not at all deterred by some over-aggressive plays coming out. He's still going to try and challenge onto these players even outside the building. And once again, those soda canisters are coming out to just deny this thermite from being able to open up that IT wall early. I think this time around there's no active denial in place. There's only a mute jammer. So since the exothermic has already been activated, it's now just a question of time for it to get activated. But the exothermic got destroyed. I'm not sure how that happened. It must have been on the side of Divinium to have destroyed that. That's a big misplay. There's no more exothermics in the pocket of Noji.
Yeah, that's definitely problematic, especially when you've got Franksy able to take another one down as well. That's going to be one pick. And that's your flank watch, too. Of all players, that's not what you want. When you're already struggling to contain these players, and now you're losing your flank watch, big trouble coming in from Divinium. You want an opening pick. You want the flank watch. You want to be able to have that ease of mind. And not only do you not have that ease of mind, you're down a player too. This is already looking to be a rough start. You're out of breach charges. You're out of ace charges. Utility's already starting to run dry, and they still haven't made a move towards first floor. You still have Malat on the board, and that's going to be JD able to take Frankie. A little bit of that overheating there, but still a 4v4, so they can afford it in exchange for information on where Divinium is positioning themselves. And that's big impact, as we will see Edo take Malat and Noji. And that means that any sense of verticality, that ain't happening. And Noob going down as well. That's going to be Baoga. JD manages to take one, but here comes the shotgun. The super shorty coming in close. Big damage, down to 20. Repeat. Edo finishes the job. PBX with a 4-round lead going into the swap.
Yeah, if this wouldn't have worked out, I think once again we would have heard the term overheating come out of your mouth, Piercing. However, I feel like this is just the way that PBX want to play. They just want to play aggressive. They really want to get out the building and find that last player. They want to give JD absolutely 0 seconds to try and talk this round through, to try and say, all right, maybe we go into this next round, we go into defense, we talk about what we're going to do and what maybe we can fix going into this map to try and bring it back. And PBX says, no, we're going to send 2 people basically outside the building to contest JD to make sure that they have absolutely 0 time to cool down, because PBX want nothing but action. And at the moment, they are given that opportunity. So Divinium, it looked all right, but those early openers, once again, it's just, it's a really big concern. And once again, this is Divinium's map pick. So, of course, PBX did get to pick the starting side, and they went with defense. but it's still not a good sign to go down 1-5 on your own map pick. And I really don't think it matters what side you start on. It should not be 1-5. It should be 2-4 at the least. That's why you're picking this map. And so PBX is finding a lot of success with their opponents. And they're now 2 rounds away from taking the map pick away from their opponents and then moving on to their own, which is certainly looking favorable to PBX at the moment. Not just for this map, but for this entire matchup.
Oh yeah, 100%. This is honestly the best case scenario that you could possibly ask for. But you still got to pick up 2 rounds on attack, and for all we know, that could be far easier said than done. It just depends on what kind of energy that PBX will be pulling. But like you've correctly stated, they love to get active. This is what PBX does. And why would we say that that is going to change in any way, shape, or form? They're absolutely going to full send it and keep this going. And that's what I am looking forward to, is how they're going to project confidence onto Divinium. Because if you can get crippling confidence and motion this early on into the second half, I mean, you pretty much just settled it in the bag. And there's the blitz coming in, now pushing for the back.
Oh, no way.
Catches Malat, pushed up a little too far. That's going to be 1 pick. And warehouse balcony control, which is huge for PBX. However, Noobski able to take Franco with the secondary shotgun to ITA. That's a considerable setback there. And with 1:43 seconds, Aurelian at 16 HP, it seems like Divinium has done a pretty good job of shutting out that initial entry.
In classic PBX fashion, even on the attack, we continue with the same pacing. They want to control the pace of this match. They want to be the ones that dictate how quickly things are moving along. And this time around, it moves just a tiny bit too quickly, as they're not ready for the response from the side of Divinium. So, of course, they have Rafters control, they have IT control already, they got Franco into the building downstairs so early, and now they have the chance to use some of those cluster charges to try and clear out close sight. The problem is, how much effect are those realistically going to have? They have a minute to try and work their way through, but this man disadvantage certainly doesn't favor them. And I don't think the player that was prone now does get spotted. There we go. Bios able to find one, finds a second player on the floor, and suddenly the man advantage turns for PBX. They once again control the pace, and now they can put this diffuser down. Camfries is able to find one in response, but now the retake has to come on, as Bio should be able to stick this plant. He can play behind the bomb, and this retake is important. Divinium have to retake this. They can't afford to lose a round so early. Bio finds the first, leaves it down to a 1v1. The second player's flash. Bio finds it as well. It is match point for Project Black X immediately off of the back of their first attacking round. They will not let the pace be dictated by their opponents. They will be the ones firmly in control of this match, firmly in control of Nighthaven, and they now have 5 chances to try and close this out.
Yeah, no, there's a very wide margin of error coming in on the side of PBX. But I just want to talk about that flash, though, at the very last second. The way that was done, wow, beautiful. Banking that flash off of the door frame, using that to divide and conquer, isolate ones, forcing the hand on Wamai. Otherwise, Edo would be able to get much more comfortable and making it much tougher for Divinium to retake, forcing that swing, taking that, and then also being proactive on the follow-up swing as well. Beautiful gunplay coming out from PBX, not to mention even further divide and conquer. The way that they were able to isolate command center, perfectly done. That's exactly how you want to do it. They spotted the prone player over by desk, flushed that player off, and then cut off the IT side of the second floor, allowing for a sweep into the plant. Beautifully coordinated. Great comeback coming in from PBX despite being at a man disadvantage for a time. I mean, you can't have it better, right? This is huge improvement coming in from PBX when it comes to coordination. Perfectly played there, honestly.
Yeah, they execute. It needed to come out at the right time. They find the correct information, and just some very important shots being hit by Bio as well. Of course, can't underestimate that. Him coming into the site, he finds 2 important kills, and he just clutches it all out by himself. All he needs his teammates to do there is just give him 7 seconds of reprieve to put that diffuser down, and they give him just enough time. However, now Camfries on the defense. I'm not sure yet. Camfries, one of those two. I'll go with your pronunciation of Camfries. He does take down Bio, so Bio was hot in the last round. This time around, the Dokkaebi gets taken out before the very first phone call even comes out. However, the response from Aurelian elsewhere is there. And so on top floor, a bit of control taken away by force from the defenders, despite losing that Dokkaebi early.
Yeah, both losing some important active utility, whether it's those Dokkaebi calls or the Azami Kiba barriers. You're still losing active utility, but considering that PBX did gain some grounds into the building, I would say that's pretty much a typical CH fashion trade. Both players lose lives for a little bit of space and a little bit of time. Usually how these typically go out. But Edo does manage to take Noji. That's going to be from a vertical point. JD sustaining a bit of damage, trying to walk up from Exo stairs. Does find a way to fall back. Now down to 69 HP. PBX up one player. And now with a minute and 20, they have plenty of time to try to put the pressure down and start hunting these stragglers. Especially when you've got Damo still on the board as well. Starting that hunt. Possibly looking for Goyo, and that's going to be a perfect scan as he's still on the first floor. Does manage to finally fall back. Now looking to try to use the punching power of that pistol to go for the vertical. Maybe get a bit of damage onto him. So far, no shots connecting. Just stalling the timeout, which as a defender, sometimes that's all you can really do. But unfortunately for Divinium, that's going to be another pick from Francie. Able to take yet another. That's going to be JD down. Now up to 2 players. You still have a little bit of stall here. That's going to be the Goyo. The key here for Divinium, if they want to stay in the game, is going to be time. But if they can continue to take picks like these, this will be a good turnaround, especially when you've got those canisters, especially if well placed. That can aid to that benefit as well. Cam Fries taking another as well. That's going to be Francie for a triple kill. This is not looking too hot for PBX. However, Franco does manage to get big space onto Pillar to now go for the plant. Cam Fry's stuck in a rock in a hard place. Gonna have to push through this, looking for that player, and just can't do it as Aurelian finishes the job for PBX to take the first map.
They take their opponent's map pick in a very, very convincing fashion. A 7-1 absolute dominance coming out from PBX. And up next will be their own pick over on Skyscraper, and this is starting to shape up really, really well. And Divinium down on the ropes. They now have to fight back. They have to win the next 2 maps. And of course, that includes their opponent's map pick, that includes Clubhouse, and this seems like a long road for them to try and keep themselves inside of the PBX Pro Series 6 here. Because at the moment, it looks like PBX might be the ones to knock out their opponents, and will be able to continue on and live another day inside of this group stage, as we've got the bans just very quickly shaping up for map 2 one more time. And there we can see it, Skyscraper. And at this point, I'm very, very worried for Divinium, because they have not shown me anything to give me confidence going into the second map.
I would have to agree with you there. And the important thing here is, if you look at the way both of these teams attacked, Divinium was kind of disheveled when it came to attacking. There was always that kind of hesitancy, trying to play it slow, and it almost banked the way they played on, PBX walking into crossfires, maybe getting a little overzealous, or, basically trying to punish aggression. But that's the thing with PBX though. They have a good coordinated effort, and they know when things are slow and they're not feeling pressured, and they don't really have to act against it. And that's where I think Divinium needs to find a way to create an impetus for PBX to act on their defense, which I feel like just doesn't exist. This is where PBX has a unique advantage. And this is Skyscraper, our next map, is not the map to have that problem. This is one map where you want to be able to put down some real pressure. Because if you can't do that, the sheer options for rotations, the many ways you can get away, whether it's making rotates, popping hatches, whether it's, bouncing around room to room to room, whether it's first floor or second floor, it doesn't matter. This is going to be a much tougher map to go and attack on. And if you're just hoping that you can catch them off guard by kind of lurking around as an attacker, waiting for someone to come around or something like that, I don't think that's even going to be a situation. You've got operators like Valkyrie that are constantly being utilized by PBX, but even then, I don't think it will be enough. So I really do wonder what Divinium will do with this map. But like you said, Reaperance, this is going to be tough.
Yeah, they've got a long way ahead of them, and We're going to go into Skyscraper shortly, but I think for now we'll throw it to a very quick break, and then we'll be back with the rest of this matchup. Once again, BO3, it is now Divinium on the ropes, so they will have to fight for the survival against PBX. Map 2 coming up in just a bit. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. There we go. We are back with our first matchup of the evening, our BO3 elimination game. We've got PBX against Divinium Academy, and so far it's looking like PBX all day as they've taken their opponent's map pick, Nighthaven 7-1, and now we're here getting ready for map 2, which is Skyscraper.
Yep, this is going to be from here on out, it's going to be a hard fight for Divinium, because we don't have a lot of information on Divinium, at least I don't. So if we're talking about raw experience going into the decider, let's say they do in theory win Skyscraper, which is already an uphill battle in of itself, PBX has the edge on seniority. They have the edge on Skyscraper because it's their map pick. This is where things are going to be rather challenging for Divinium. If you're rooting for Divinium over in the chat, this is where you better put a lot of hype and hope into this team and encourage them, because this is going to be challenging, right? The circumstances that they're in. The stakes couldn't be higher for them, because remember, in this BO3, if they get knocked out here, that's it. They're done for this season. So this is pretty much their final stand from here on out. That's kind of what the stakes are. But just so you guys have that, that review, let's take a look at those map bans just so you can kind of see where we are right now.
Yep, all right. And as we're looking at that, of course, I think you rightly touched on that, Piercing. We're already in the lower bracket, right? Both of these teams have lost a series, which is how they found themselves here, so they're both on the ropes already, and now Divinium have lost that last safety net of the maps, because it is a BO3, you are allowed to lose one, but then you have to win the other two. So every last piece, every last safety net is gone. From here on out, they have to be perfect. They have to win these next two maps to continue keeping themselves alive inside of the series. And PBX are this close to eliminating their first opponent in the group and to moving on one more round and get themselves that step closer to make it into the playoffs, away from the groups and a little bit closer to that championship, because if they win this, once again, it's 400 euros for the winner of the Pro Series 6, and that's something that PBX are vying for. That's something that they want, and for that they will have to take out Divinium here, and we've already talked about it in the map bans. It looks like Nighthaven and Sky are fairly similar maps, and Clubhouse seems like more of an afterthought for this map ban phase, so realistically, neither of these teams want to go to Club, and neither of these teams have any interest in playing that third map. So PBX really need to close it out here, otherwise they put themselves onto the same shaky legs that Divinium find themselves on already.
Oh, 100%. It'll be much more doable for Divinium if they can get to the second map, and that's kind of the thing, getting there. Oh, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, fun fact, did you know that in PBX, Skyscraper has actually been played here more than in the Major? Why, you may ask? Lord knows, I don't know. Y'all are weird. But, I mean, I do think that is definitely interesting. And it just goes to show how the perception of this map has changed so much, which I'm all for. But this does pose a more unique problem, because this is a map that there's still some more legacy players are still hesitant to play on. And I think how many of those legacy players with that mentality you have is going to be a big disadvantage going into Skyscraper, because at this point you have to be playing this map. You can't just ignore it and go, oh, we'll just ban it. That's not really much of an acceptable option, because it's going to throttle your options big time when it comes to control over map bans. So I do kind of wonder how these teams have prepared for this map, because clearly it's got relevance, and very much relevant in this league specifically.
All right. With that, I think I'm assuming we're going to go into the map just shortly, so we'll take a quick ad and then we'll be right in with the flyover.
Huge shout out to IT Discount 24 for sponsoring the PBX Pro Series 6. IT Discount 24 is your refurbished IT partner. Head on over to their website or eBay shop posted in the chat to find all your refurbished PC needs. Whether corporate or private, they'll have you covered.
And there we go. We're moving on to Skyscraper. We're moving into the map. We've got the operator bands for this map shaping up shortly, Piercing. And with that, any predictions on what these operator bands might end up being?
I think the Blitz band's going to go. I think the Monty band's going to go. I know that we kind of saw a little bit of a change up with the Maverick band, but I think that PBX is not going to be too worried about that. That armory or armor second floor wall, that wall gets open no matter what you do. I think that going for a Maverick band here would be a bit of a mistake because I think there's also opportunity in dealing with the Maverick for runouts. So there's the Monty band. I don't know if PBX is going to be the ones to go for the band though. I'm not 100% sure. I mean, I feel like they had better impact with it, but if I had to guess, I mean, we did see Divinium bring it out on their attack a good amount. Or I'm sorry. But yeah, I think that would be an option. But instead, we're going to see the Ying ban. Can't blame them, though. When you've got so many nooks and crannies, you don't want to deal with a catch-all operator like Ying. That definitely brings a lot of problems when you're defending. But otherwise, this is kind of going exactly how I expected.
I feel like the Ying wasn't abused as much as we thought it would on Nighthaven. Could also be down to the fact that the map ended up being a lot quicker than it was supposed to shape up to be. But certainly with that Warden ban last time around, the Ying a little oppressive, and PBX this time around choosing to get rid of it. Don't want to have to try and deal with this one more time, as once again the Warden ban is coming out, so they seem to have a good read on their opponents. It seems like Divinium and Cat are trying to play around potentially flashing out their opponents, getting rid of that option. So PBX already in preparation for it, counter it. So once again, I feel like PBX have a good read on their opponents, and Divinium at the minute just playing a bit too static. And that's reflected in the picks and at the bans.
What I like about getting rid of both the Ying and the Warden, what I think is really good about this is that this provides an opportunity for smoke run-ins. We've seen the Blitz and how people do that for force plants, and they can have some pretty good success, as we saw in the matchup with Nexus 77 versus Wild Ones. It was definitely a place for it. And what I'm thinking is that both of these teams are going to potentially try to abuse that, right? You've got that Black Stairs walk up, throw smokes block off the entire hall, and you pretty much got a free entry into karaoke. So I do wonder if that might come into play at some point. We're already seeing Edo with the Blitz. Oh, and we've even got an Amaru as well. Hello. Getting a little gutsy there with this execute. And look at how many players are all the way in armor side. This could come to bite them significantly if they mobilize quickly enough.
All right, yeah, certainly seeming like it could be a very fast setup for PBX. Edo already getting himself onto the black balcony outside of that top black staircase, and potentially also over onto the window on Shrine. And Aurelian immediately down below. We've got a nuke coming out. That's going to be interesting. A drone right ahead of it, so just good teamwork coming in from PBX. It looks like the staircase might be clear, which gives just so much space over to Aurelian to move himself up. He does take a lot of damage. I think that might have been from Vert. I'm not sure how he took all of that, but you can see him running away scared. He tucks his legs, or his tail between his legs, and moves on over. And Divinium at the moment just completely punishing this aggression from PBX. Now finally a kill comes back from Bio. He's able to find at least one, but he gets himself taken down to such low HP. Franco responds as well onto Malone. He has a yellow ping onto another player. He knocks him out as well, and suddenly the man advantage turns. PBX get themselves a bit of a lead, and the plant is coming down. Franco can just try and stick this. It's a bit of an odd position for him to plant, but as long as there's no information for the side of Divinium, which there is not, despite the Echo being on the board, now the red pings are coming through, but that's a little too late. Noji, he's able to find what was left of Aurelian, but now the repel comes through, and this is going to be so difficult to try and retake. Franco finds one onto Camfries. It's only down to Noji. He's getting beat, he's getting phone called, and he's got 20 seconds to try and get onto that defuse. It's not going to happen. Bio takes him down. Lovely angle, lovely hold from outside black here. And what a round from PBX, a bit of a missed start, but immediately they're able to turn around their fortunes, and they're able to win the first attack on Skyscraper, an important round to win.
What I love about this forced play even though it didn't have the immediate impact that they were looking for, which is being able to get that plant down so early on. But what it did instead is it allowed for a diversion. You had that focus over by Black Stairs. You had the mobilization from that front. But with a good amount of information and also crossfire support coming in, you had an opportunity to do a walk-in from Drum, which completely caught Divinium off guard. It was almost like a bait and switch in shifting expectations. And that right there created a new opening that PBX was able to take advantage of. That kind of follow-up is what makes PBX so dangerous on attack. I mean, perfectly executed. That's exactly how you want to handle a force plant situation. You want to have a contingency. You almost always need a contingency. It doesn't ever usually work on the first try, and if it does, that other team's usually got bigger fish to fry than losing a round in that kind of way. There's other bigger problems going on, but being able to take space like that and create these displacements, that's what attacking's all about. And PBX have honed in on that, and that makes for an even tougher ask for Divinium, because even when they repel an immediate front, there's another one just waiting for them.
And I love this from PBX just in terms of the setup as well. They bring the aggression in round one, they throw a bit of a curveball, and then they immediately go back to just playing a very standard sort of take. You can see a lot of hard breach being brought this time around, and so much utility clear. There's so much soft breach on the side of PBX this time around. They've got a Buck to try and open walls. They've got a Zofia to clear util. They've got 4 of those Flores Rotero drones. And they've got potentially Franco as well with 2 of those Ash Chargers to clear out the mirror windows that are being brought by the side of JD. And to clear out these castle barricades as well. They have a beautiful read onto Divinium, so you can tell that they're really doing their due diligence in the prep phase in terms of droning, and all they've lost is 2 drones so far. There's a yellow ping. Aurelian just floor bangs Noob, and that's the opening pick onto the side of Divinium. They lose their first player. Franco does go down elsewhere in a different fight, but there's another player spotted out. No, your butt is sticking out, Noji. You have to be careful about that. It is a PBX flood in the kill feed. And with only half the round gone, it is Camfries effectively in a 1v5 as soon as Franco gets himself picked up. And he's all alone inside of the site looking at a breach. There's not much he can play around, and this is very likely another round for PBX, which means they get themselves up 2-0. They continue their streak, and this is just looking so hopeless for Divinium. They were the ones to choose the starting side here on Sky, and this is a much different map pick. You can tell that PBX wanted to go here, and they're absolutely feeling themselves.
Can we talk about the intel here? My goodness, every single turn, they were getting so much information. Whether it's from spotting players or from drones, the intel work coming out from PBX is nothing short of miraculous. And I don't mean miraculous as in probability. I mean miraculous as in very well done. And this is putting Divinium in such a unique bind, right? When you're getting wall banged like that, and you're getting swung from spots that you don't even know where to look, this is such a big opportunity coming in from PBX. And okay, JD now came in with the mute. This was needed a little bit earlier. We kind of got a glimpse of that in the first round, but the second round is where that really blew up. Being able to leverage util or intel like that is what makes a good attacking team into a great one. Having that level of aggression and momentum, while also having the intel to back it up, man, that's a dangerous blend. You don't get that a lot with teams in T4, but when you see it, oh yeah, you're in for a bloodbath. And it's going to be largely in favor of the team with the intel.
Yeah, they're into the building so fast, as you pointed out, Piercing, and at the same time, somehow they have drones in all of the important locations pre-placed from the prep phase to just yellow ping, floor bang, to just know where every single one of these defenders are. And that's really not shaping up well for Divinium Acad here, as they've got a whole lot of work ahead of them. Now they've already lost 2 of the defensive rounds on Sky. That's not something you want to do. And they effectively have to be perfect here to try and claw themselves back. They're already down a map, and their own map pick has really gone against them. So they're down, but not out yet. And that's something that's important to keep in mind. A game is never over until it is over. The problem is Divinium just have to find their form. They have to come alive here, and they need to find a response to what PBX is putting up. Because so far, PBX is throwing a lot in their faces, and not everything, and especially not enough, is being responded to by Divinium. At the moment, top black control gained by Franco. Once again, he's immediately in this position, and he loves doing this. He's very good at this. He just gets himself into a position where he maybe shouldn't be, and waits for an opportunity to present itself, as it looks like there's going to be a Rotero drone coming in to open up the wall for him. And the question is, do they expect him to be right here? No, they don't. Franco is in already, and he's going to find a second as well. It's too late of a response, and JD walks right into the gun of Franco. He's ready for this. He has sight control. Now the diffuser's coming into position. Another kill comes through. PBX are looking to make this a 3-0, looking to maybe make this even a 6-0 split, because at the moment, there is no response from Divinium. They're getting absolutely ran through.
And here's my question for Divinium as they go into this timeout. How do you go from reactive to proactive? If you look at this series of events, this round, from karaoke to the re-swing on rotate, everything was reactionary. Nothing was proactive. And here's another thing too. Where's the drone hunting? You have 2 drones shot out at the beginning of the round, and then basically nothing else for the rest of the round. You know that you're getting hurt on intel. This is where you're ending up in losing gunfights because you don't even know you're walking straight into a trap every time. You bring the mute, that's JD, okay. But then you don't actually look to hunt these drones out. They're still, kind of like a parasite festering and doing so much damage from within. You've got to clear this information. But you can't do that if you're being reactive rather than proactive. You're just going to keep walking into PBX's intel scope. You got to scope it out, clear it ahead of time, and be in an area of uncertainty. That's where you get your mark as a defender. Otherwise, you're just going to be rolling the dice every time, like a 25-75. And unfortunately for Divinium, they're on to 25.
Yeah, those are not good odds.
No, they most certainly are not. But moving on from the timeout and last round, it does look like they are going to go for an interesting shift onto first floor, which I do wonder how that's going to play out. But I don't think PBX is having any of it, considering they've got a Sense, a Glass, a Blitz. They're abusing the fact that Divinium went for that Warden ban, and I would love to see how this goes. I think maybe over-investing in this Force Plant, in my opinion, but I do like where they're going with this, if they can pull it off. That's kind of the important thing, is how do they keep that flexibility like they did the last time?
Oh. That was about to be a very, very messy affair. JD was about to pull down that castle barricade as he heard players go onto that black balcony. That could have really panned out poorly for him. He does think better of it, moves himself back, and at the moment, Franco is waiting for an opportunity, and that castle barricade is prepped. He reads right into it. He's not going to mess around with that at all. And that means that this castle barricade is basically useless as it gets cleared within just a few seconds. Now, here comes the smokes. There's immediately a smoke babe to try and counter this from the defense. And the problem is that they're not finding the kills to accompany it. And they're just using those smokes to try and run past. Edo is already close to the site. The wall's been opened up. This has not been reinforced. And so that means he should be able to get himself into a position to go and plant on default here. Finally, the response from Divinium is coming through, but are they in time to try and deny this plant? Because otherwise, you're looking at a post-plant situation with a blitz in play and something that can be most likely held from those repels as well. Camfries is able to find another. Divinium now have the advantage. That blitz does go down, so they only have 2 more to find, but they've got time running against them. Another player gets spotted out. Camfries, he's good for it, which only leaves Aurelian, and now the counter defuse is coming through. Aurelian's not in a position to try and deny this. He has to try and run for it, but it's being stuck, and there we go. Camfries going huge for Divinium, and finally the first round for Divinium. A CAD comes in. a little late, but that's what we're looking for. And PBX, their aggression is, once again, it's so good. These executes are so good. If they can hold the post plant for a few more seconds, they easily push themselves up to 4-0. But Divinium finally put a bit of a spanner in their works, and we've got some sort of hope for Divinium to fight their way back into this.
Oh yeah, there's absolutely a much better opportunity now being affronted to them. But what I want to say, and this is kind of what's interesting to me about, all of this, is notice how when Divinium started to be proactive rather than reactive, things started to turn around so much. Like, you saw that swing coming in on the vertical to shut down that that Ashe from above. That is exactly what you need to do in order to turn these kind of situations around. You can't just react. You've got to be a step ahead, right? And you've got to actively take those kind of fights to support your team as well. Because that's the other thing that I've been kind of noticing is whenever the intel comes out, Divinium tends to be in a situation where PBX can immediately capitalize on the intel or the utility positioning. They're not usually in a situation where they can kind of ignore it or counteract it effectively. And I think this is kind of a disruption of that trend, which I think it provides a lot of comeback potential. However, now that we're back to the basics, those second floor sites, I don't really know how this will pan out from what we've seen already.
Yeah, you can't see it on broadcast, Piercing, but I am nodding my head vigorously at everything you're saying, because we need something more out of Divinium. We need to see how they're going to try and respond to this, especially now that they move on to the basics on those second floors, on those bread and butter bomb sites on Skyscraper. And at the moment, Frankie is doing a decent job of opening up the main wall already. There's control being gained across the site over on to the side of Geisha. And at the moment, PBX is putting up a good pace. They're already inside of T. They're already looking for opportunities to try and spot onto some of those defenders. And Divinium is getting boxed in. They have to make sure that they find a right pick at the right time. And you can see it again. There's 8 drones up. They know where these players are. They're going for swings. Bio finds the first elsewhere onto Noji. I think he might have gone down below from Geisha. He manages to go down low and able to find the opening pick. It is not traded. Those Divinium players too far apart. Not able to find anything, and Aurelian is directly below the site, and he's being fed yellow pings once again. He's still down here. He did this last time. He's gonna do it again! He does the same thing as he did the previous time that Divinium were here on this bomb site. Franco finds another. This is all falling apart for Divinium so quickly. Once again, they have no chance of defending this whatsoever. Now some aggression is coming through. JD, Camfries, they're able to respond. They're able to find some picks, but immediately they draw back into sight. And now might be a good opportunity to do so, but you've lost so much control and so many players this early on. You can't allow this to happen like that, Divinium.
No, all I'm going to say right there is, where's the refrags? You got to have some kind of backup there. You just have to, right? You've got to have some kind of crossplay. You've got to be able to support your teammates. And this is where becoming reactive is so problematic. When you're reacting on a 1-on-1 or 1vx scale, every single situation you encounter, especially when you're getting lit up with yellow pings, this makes for a nigh unwinnable situation. And this is where, on the side of Divinium, I worry big time, because they have to find a way to deal with this kind of information and capitalization that they are pulling off. However, JD starting to get on aggressive, starts to push back, manages to get a triple kill, and manages to turn it around as Divinium is able to flush them out on a bit of a rushed entry onto site.
That was a beautiful 2v5 from JD and Camfries. They played not necessarily together. Once again, I feel like both of those guys were defending different halves of the top floor, not split from, I believe it's east to west, but split from north to south. They split the map between each other and tried to take gunfights there. It's just a lucky circumstance that Camfries is able to find 2 picks onto both the planter and the guy trying to cover him. So they were given individual gunfights by PBX, and PBX did overextend here a bit, which allowed these two to come back into it. But even in this round, even with Divinium winning that round, I don't see the team play. I see 2 people clutching a 2v5 separate from one another. I don't think at any point they were playing together around any of these picks. At the end of that round, Camfries tried to do it, but he was too late to try and help JD around this, and ultimately had to take another one-on-one engagement, which, if that would have gone away from him, he would have left his teammate all alone to try and clutch the round, which very easily could have been a 2v1 gunfight, could have been a trade, but I'm not seeing this happening. They're so split up.
And I think you're speaking big time to kind of really what the root of the problem is, which I would have to say you're 100% right. I don't see it any other way. There is just a fundamental lack of team play going on here. When you look at how these fights are coming out, that entire round that we just witnessed, no refrags, nothing, zilch. Still taking ones, taking 1vx's, and there's just no backup. I mean, this is just objectively losing the numbers game. Now, I mean, the clutch, cool, that's great, that's whatever. But if they can't learn to be proactive and learn to work together, they're going to be in a 2-round deficit on the attack, which I would say, as someone who used to play competitive, that is a nightmare scenario. You never want that to happen. But right now, this is the reality that Divinium is about to be fronted with, unless they can find a way to play off of each other. And we're already seeing a bit of that not coming through. Noji and Noob having a little bit of a cross, now walking away from each other. And there's the isolation. Franco spotting campfires, able to take him out. Now out for blood. We're barely a minute into the round, and we already have an initial pick. And not only that, it's on the one active utility available, and that is going to be the Azami with the Kiba berries. Already out of the picture. That's a lot of cover against aggression that is now gone. Noji going to be getting flashed over by Shrine. If they lose Echo, this is going to be an even bigger setback, because that's another active component now gone.
Look at that drone work. Once again, Franco. He's the Ash. He's the most aggressive one. He's 8-2. He's feeling himself, but he's droning. He's droning ahead of the feet of Aurelian. He's droning ahead of his buddies, and there's so many drones still in play. Once again, it is 7 alive. 7 drones that PBX can work with. Only one of them is in the pocket, so a bunch of them are out and about just feeding yellow ping information onto these players, and Divinium is not looking around to try and find any of these. Now some outdated information for Franco to try and find a pick here. That player has moved since, but it just goes to show that they're trying to floor bang everyone they get an opportunity to, and Aurelian finds another onto JD. That's the mute off the board, and a big advantage now is that kill goes untraded as well, and PBX have 40 seconds to try and find and execute onto this bomb site with so much control. They have control of bottom black. They're now going to switch operators to have the Brava be the one covering outside on the window. The Ace Selmas are coming in. That is going to open up the wall over on to Karaoke. And as soon as that wall is open, they have the opportunity to put a plant down. And at the moment, the Echo is the one swinging. The one that can deny the plant in the late round is down on the floor. He's injured. Malot is able to find one pick onto Bio, but the plant is going down. The Echo is not there to cover this. The Echo might not even be recoverable, as Malot is fighting for his life at the moment on a player that's already gone around him all the way. Franco, he finds 2 for himself. It's only down to Noobski. And Aurelian and Franco have to just hold a post plant, and they will. And that means they win the half. They win the half on, yes, their map pick, but this was the starting side that Divinium chose, and it gets away from them as well. This is too many mistakes, too many rounds getting away from them, and now they find themselves down 2-4 going into the attacking half of Skyscraper. That is not what you want to see.
No, the nightmare scenario has came to fruition. This is going to be a big problem coming in for Divinium. And I want to just kind of talk about where PBX went so right on this map. Notice how every single time they're on second floor, what's the first thing that they get immediate control of? Bar. Off the rip. Whether it's Aurelian, whether it is I think it's Franco, getting that first floor off the rip. Using those drones, shooting from below. They had a reliable base, and they used first floor to abuse that base to, devastating effect. This is where PBX had such a strong edge, and Divinium, unfortunately, being unable to adapt effectively much at all, pretty much means that they're in a really startling situation. But, nevertheless, they're on the attack. There is some opportunity. But, from what we have seen from the last game and up to this point, I don't think Divinium has the level of coordination and confidence required to carry this home or even into an overtime. What do you think?
Oh, they've got a long way to go if they want to fight their way back in, Piercing. I'm not sure how the chances stand, but it really will depend on how they find their way and how they ease their way into the second half. Siege is a game of two halves. This could very well be an attacker-sided skyscraper, and that basically just comes down to how Divinium want to play this. And I think that this round right here is going to be a very telling one. It's going to be down to how aggressively they can and how convincingly they can win this first round, because if this gets away from them, PBX are 2 rounds away from putting this map and therefore this match away. And I think at that point it starts to look very, very unlikely, because PBX are just going to have too much momentum. And speaking of momentum, Franco is so hot. He's feeling himself. He finds a player proning next to... No. Divinium, everything goes wrong for them immediately, as Franco is now 12-2, and he's looking for a fight onto another. He might be given another 1v1. And if it's not given to him, he might just go looking for it, as Aurelian gets Malot taken down as well. Camfreeze is down to 2 HP as well, and here comes the run out! Franco, he gets him! Noobski tries to go for a drone, and he will be punished. Divinium don't have any map control, not even outside of the map, so Camfreeze, he's all by himself. He's down to 2 HP. This is looking like a flawless round for PBX, and to answer your question, Piercing, I don't think we're gonna see overtime.
Franco, you dirty dog, that is so disrespectful. That is ridiculous. And he's still looking for more. He's not even done yet.
He's hungry.
This man's out for blood. You better be scared of him. That's... Wow. But I mean, we gotta address the elephant in the room. How did you let him get away with that? No. But I mean, again, this is kind of what we were talking about. You know, when it comes to being proactive versus reactive and just sheer confidence difference. I mean, look at how confident PBX has been playing at this entire time, right? They know exactly what's going on, and at virtually no point has the ball ever left their court. And it does look like we are going to see a bit of a kind of unofficial timeout, or not, never mind, flawless round going for PBX, as they try to figure out what they're going to do here, because they're running out of options, and they're in the worst position to be low on options.
We get another look at that player proning. I think that was also a player on drone. So Franco is fighting people who don't have their gun up. No wonder he's able to get a triple kill, but it's that aggression, and I think it's the decision making on Franco that is absolutely panning out well for him. And you can see he's now going onto the Scopos. So not only do you have to worry about him being in one position, he can now be in 2 positions at almost the same time. So no matter where you drone him out, he could just suddenly appear behind you. And I think for Franco, putting Franco on an operator like that has to be the scariest possible option for Divinium. Divinium are massively on the back foot. You've got Camfreeze, who was able to contribute to a large part of why they're up 2-5, why this match isn't over in a 7-0 fashion. But other than that, there's not been huge value coming outside of Divinium Acad, and especially not as a team. In individual plays, once again, Camfreeze and I believe it was JD in the 2v5 that they were able to win on their defensive half. That was a good round, but it wasn't a round that was won on team play. It was not a round that was won on the capability of playing together and playing cohesively. It was won on making the right decisions individually and winning the gunfights individually. And that is really spelling disaster for Divinium Acad. They are now staring down the barrel of a 5 to disadvantage, and you can see once again, Camfreeze is going for a bit of a drone, and looking at the drone economy, I think so far for Divinium it doesn't look half bad either. I was looking at that previous round as well. The biggest problem for Divinium last time wasn't that they ran out of drones or information, but rather that they were droning while Franco was fighting them.
Oh yeah, no, I think absolutely that was kind of the big situation there, but here comes the initiative.
No, you have live info.
No, there he goes. Camfreeze, they do finally manage to flush him out. I mean, he was completely surrounded there, pretty much just kind of sitting in a sea of or in a pool of acid, you know, kind of just waiting to get pretty much deteriorated there, and that's exactly what happened. But yeah, I don't know what the sound, where the sound was. I don't know what that was all about, but either way, this is definitely a step in the right direction for Divinium, be able to take that first pick, but they still have to get through Tea Room, Karaoke, make way to Armory, but Losing your Dekebi is a big step backwards in that direction. And PBX doesn't look to have any intentions of giving up this space.
I'm seeing some shades of previous maps come in here as they have spread out now, but for a brief moment there was 3 players stacked up on the black stairs, and that's exactly what we've seen out of them on Nighthaven as well. These Divinium players on attack stack up so much, and they play so one-dimensionally because they're just sitting on top of one another. I'm not talking about, oh, they're all roughly in the same room. No, they're sitting on top of each other. Now, finally, that aggression from the Blitz comes through. Camfries, who's already been doing great work for Divinium, is able to find another, and they're able to isolate a few picks and find some kills here. That does put them into a man advantage, and now they have control of half the map, half of this top floor. And this does force Frankie and Eto back to site, but if there's any site where we've seen a 2vx work out, it's this one. Divinium have shown us that it's possible, so of course Frankie and Eto can definitely still play around this. They're doing a similar split to what Divinium did on their defensive side as well. At the moment, they're just waiting, as Divinium have slowed down. They've got 30 seconds to try and push into this, and they're considering where they want to encroach from. It looks like the Blitz is rotating around. This is most likely going to be an attack from Dragon side, but there's some more shots going on to the feet. The Blitz is down to dangerously low HP. If they find the side of him, Frankie is able to take him down, and that's Camfries gone off the board. It's only down to Noobski and Noji. And they have to try and encroach. They've got 10 seconds to work their way in here. There is live information. No, Noji wins the first. He does get taken down, though. 1v1 live info. Once again, the red pings come through from PBX, and they put themselves into match point on their own map pick.
That decisiveness, we've talked about it. It's really just a confidence diff. It truly is. You had Divinium, who, despite having a person advantage, and that person advantage specifically being a Blitz shield, which is already a crippling situation, instead of making that charge and getting some much needed space and breaking through that last choke point until they were planted down, they slowly advanced and they allowed for the crossfires that PBX had already set up prior to be able to dissect this near perfectly. The only thing that could have gone even better was, Bandit not losing that last gunfight, but even then, that's just being nitpicky, right? It's that ability to kind of hold down and know and project that level of confidence. You really can't go wrong with it. The only thing that kind of shakes things up at this point is the fact they're on first floor, but otherwise, I think it's set in stone. It's fundamentally a game of who's the playmaker here. And so far, what we've seen overwhelmingly, that's PBX. Divinium, they just respond. And in a game like Rainbow Six Siege, where there's so many different variables at play, you can't do that. You got to take the initiative. You don't win anything in Siege by just reacting. That's never how this has worked.
All right, and staring down the barrel of 4 match point opportunities, Divinium now have every single safety net gone. Not just the maps, not just the series. They are now on a do or die basis. They have to win every single round from here up until they get themselves into overtime, or they're going to be out of the PBX Pro Series. And it's not a good start as Aurelian. He's just waiting for this Kiba barrier to be cleared, and he sticks his head right into the hole that was made. And he's able to find the first pick. Noji goes down. That's the Brava off the board. That means none of these gadgets, none of those Banshees potentially that could be hacked are going to be hacked. None of those mute jammers can be cleared out. And this is going to slow down Divinium, both figuratively and literally, as that utility is meant to waste time. And it's now going to stay up for just that much longer.
Yeah, this is pretty much a significant loss coming in from Divinium, right? You want to keep... When you've got utility like Brava, you want to keep those types of players up for as long as possible. And when you're losing it this early on, that's a big setback. And, I mean, not having another gun to cover, just in case things get a little bit wonky. Again, this is kind of what we saw on Nighthaven. That lack of refragability, that lack of follow-up. This is what makes them so dangerous. They kind of push one-dimensionally and then don't really have a backup plan in case something goes awry. This is where Divinium gets hurt significantly. I mean, you do have the Blitz. They were able to make some waves with that. But you've got the Tachanka. That's going to be Edo trying to hold that out. And so far, they've done pretty well holding it out.
Oh, no.
Ooh, vertical peak not going very well. Franco to catch JD off of that. I like the initiative, but I mean, that was a little too tight. I'm not sure how the angles work specifically, but I do believe that JD had the disadvantage there in that peak. Nigel going out, doesn't catch the blitz, does not, but does do quite a significant amount of damage, bringing out the 49. Every little bit of HP helps. Still holding that angle towards the door. With blitz, not gonna be able to really fight this. It's gonna be pretty dicey going there. Oh,
Ooh.
wow, his head was covered from
All
the
right.
vertical. Hey, angles can be a little finicky at times, but doesn't matter. That gives them the space to push in the drum. This is gonna be a big step up for them. But now the problem is 20 seconds on the clock. How do they push through this choke point? This is the last hurdle they gotta go through, and a TK is not
no.
the right answer, ladies and gentlemen.
No.
Oh. Okay.
Everything goes awry for Divinium here. This is what a round to just put away the series from PBX as a bit of help from their opponents and just getting rid of this blitz. And that means that we have a very quick 2-0 series, a decisive 2-0 series on our hands. It was already looking dicey because we were low on time. Franco was in this downstairs position once again. Franco loves playing down below when he's on the defense. He loves taking those vertical angles. He's probably very good at challenging those. Why are you not sending anyone down below to directly contest him? Why are you trying to take these fights through the floor? Yes, Camfries is able to find that pick, and with the blitz pistol out as well, it's lovely that he's able to open up the round like that. But if they don't find that pick, if Camfries doesn't go for that huge individual play, the round is over right then and there. It was still lost, but that was the one chance that they were given to get back into this for the side of Divinium. Divinium are knocked out, and they are knocked out for good reason, because they don't take enough map control, they don't play together enough. And with that, we have PBX moving on.
Yeah, absolutely. So congratulations to PBX for moving on, and Divinium, you put up a fight, and sometimes when things don't go right, that's really all you can do is just keep your head up and see how far you can go. We'll see you next time. But with that being said, we're not done yet. We do have a BO1 coming up in just a moment. Oh, hold on. Give me just 1 second. Oh, never mind. So it does look like we are going to have to end the stream because we did finish this up so quickly. So, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be concluding the stream, but we're not done yet. We're going to be right back in about an hour or so, and this will be a BO1 for the upper bracket. So, while we got an extensive break coming in, we're not finished. So, with that being said, stay tuned. Keep an eye out for the stream. We'll be right back.